Okay.
Yo! Yo, 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 yo!
And here
Welcome,
we are.
and here we are again. It's Chromeo the Funk Lords for another episode of the Funk Shop. Oh, let's do that again. For another episode of the
Funk Shop.
That's right. Coming to you live on Amazon Music's Twitch channel and also our very own Twitch channel, /Chromeo Official, which you should subscribe to and follow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the difference between those two things, but you do as Twitch users.
Subscription and following.
That's right.
I think it's the same thing.
It's a little different. Anyways, so it's normal that there's a delay here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So today, on today's episode of the Funk Shop, live from our wonderful studio here in Burbank, California, we're going to talk about two songs from the Quarantine Casanova EP. And as a parenthesis, we donated a bunch of all the proceeds actually from this EP, from digital and merch. So physical, digital sales were donated to Your Rights Camp's COVID
Know Your
Relief
Rights
Fund.
Camp.
Yeah, COVID Relief Fund. And we also set up another charity this year, as my partner here, P, is Lebanese. And
Oh yeah, this T-shirt.
that's right. So as you guys know, Beirut was tremendously affected by a massive explosion a couple of weeks ago. And to help with the relief effort, we put out this gorgeous T-shirt designed by P. And if you want to help us meet our goal of sending $15,000 to Impact Lebanon, you can buy this gorgeous T-shirt, and there's a tote bag to match. We're almost at our goal. It'd be incredible if we could reach it. So go to our Bandcamp, bandcamp.chromeo.com, or vice versa, chromeo.bank. I forget. Bandcamp.
Almost there.
Yeah, and you can get the Quarantine Casanova EP and this T-shirt. All right, so today we're going to talk about two songs, and we're going to pick them apart for you guys and all that good stuff. So the first one we're going to talk about is from the Quarantine Casanova EP, and it's called Roni's Got Me Stressed Out. So
Let's move to the screen.
yeah, I guess we could. Let's play Let's play the main sort of riff of that song, the main groove. So this is how it goes. Again, for those who might be joining us for the first time, we use Cubase. It's not GarageBand. We have these really cheapo colors on Cubase because that's what we like, because it looks like the old PC that we used to produce everything on up until the last album. And so here we are. This is another one of these very simple tracks that has, barely 10 tracks of music. That's kind of what
Very little MIDI on this one too.
Yeah, very little MIDI, that's right.
Actually, the only MIDI is the drums.
Yep. And on Quarantine Casanova, we purposely made these songs very fast, kind of very stripped down to give you guys the impression that we were just, well, it was actually the truth, to kind of, to communicate the vibe that these songs were really made on the fly, spontaneously, and so on. So we're going to unpack the song a little bit, and then we're going to talk about some chord theory, and we actually want to talk about guitar tones today. So, again, look how simple those drums are. Kick. Nice. Three sounds.
Kick.
Wait, can I press it?
Hi-hat, and snare.
So can it go, oh my God. Okay. So we use battery for this. Where's my battery? Right here. So kick, hi-hat, and snare. Obviously, I think last week we talked about like all the preparation that P does, and the setting up of kits in advance. So you see here all the folders we have. Why don't you close up on this real quick?
Yep.
go.
So
Battery
kits, drum machines, drums electronic, drums live, loops, tops, loops writing. That's just for a quick on the fly. We have an idea already. We were singing ideas to each other. Pop a drum loop in.
We talked about that last week.
Yep.
Right? On Ian Isaiah's Princess Pouty, how we actually went and replaced that drum loop.
So, I've got it categorized like, breaks, disco loops, drum machines, electronic loops, live. Preludes, that's where I sample prelude records. To me, the ultimate sampling is the Prelude 12 inches.
Nice.
They had an amazing sound. I don't know who was mastering back then, but the Prelude singles, and they always, because they were playing for DJs, I guess, they were putting out records for DJs, so they always have
those 12 inches, the disco
12 inches with
yeah.
a drum intro or a drum break in the middle or a drum outro at the end. So there's always like 16 bars of drums, incredibly mixed, incredibly mastered.
Yeah, and this is like, as
I
you guys
go fetching that.
Yeah, so as you guys know, now we're telling you, our drum kits are either sampled or they're from drum machines. We don't really use a lot of ready-made sounds or like splice backs and so on. We'd rather make sounds to then put a splice back together, but we kind of sample kits, and that comes from our. We'd rather sample together. Kind of dirty. They could. I mean, they're like a sped up version of a hip hop drum kit. They're real dirty. They're gritty. So that's just really what you have. I mean, obviously the point is a groove, right? You just want it to be groovy.
Very dirty.
Yeah. The other cool part of this track, in my opinion, is the wah-wah bass. And I remember when P first put the demo together and kind of gave it to me to just do my thing with it, the first thing I did is add the wah-wah filter to the bass. So that's a live bass with a pretty significant EQ. So what you have here is a live bass going through a CLA compressor, a basic guitar amp plugin that we're gonna talk about.
And the bass, let's say, before it even gets there, it's going through a preamp direct.
Yeah.
No amps,
no
nothing.
No mics.
Straight into the
nothing.
preamp, straight into the computer, into the CLA compressor, and then into the Waves guitar amp.
And then we've got a little bit of EQ here, basic, just something to jack up the low end. And then you've got a sort of basic auto wah effect, an auto filter. Now, don't get us wrong, we do have, where's the auto wah is where? It's the neutron? No.
Right there.
This one?
No.
This one?
No.
This one?
Yes, this one.
All right, yeah. We do have this guy right here, which is, that's like the big boy shit. That is a beautiful Ottawa, not Ottawa like the capital of Canada, Ottawa filter, and that sounds amazing. But sometimes
they actually just re-released it a couple years ago. Yeah, a smaller version. That's an original 70s one.
But sometimes when we're making songs on the fly, we don't really need it or want to go through the trouble. So this is just proof that you don't need the fancy vintage thing to get your groove across. So, but I remember that was like the first thing I did because P had it like this. He had it like this. And I was like, let's filter that. Boom. All right, so we've got this. Then we've got some Rhodes and Wurlitzer chords sort of stacked together that go like this. Watch. So. And it's a very it's super simple, and it's a very kind of circular chord progression. Yeah, it kind of, it's weird. Like when I first heard it, I couldn't tell where it started and where it ended. It doesn't really go anywhere. It just loops forever. And I guess that's another thing that we took from like our days as hip hop producers when we were teenagers, that like we love a good loop.
Yeah, when you sample records for hip hop, you have a complete song. You're sampling a record that exists. You have a full 3-minute song with a bridge, chorus, and everything. So you're finding for that perfect hypnotic loop.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to recreate.
So, and last time we did a Twitch, actually last week, we talked a little bit about piano theory and like so the way chords are built. And for this song, I guess some of you really like the chord theory part. So for this song, we figured P could explain a little bit how these chords work, what the theory is behind them, because this is kind of our chemistry as Chromeo is, I don't know any theory. So I'm like when you play stuff for your grandmother and she's just like, I love it. And P is more into the theory, and so he'll pick apart some chords and sort of really know the mechanics. I don't really want to learn about it because I don't want to know all the magic. I want to keep it magical. I don't want to know the mechanics. But anyways, all right, P, so why don't you show us what the chords are in here, what the song is built around, and so on.
So basically the whole song is built around G minor. And although you're hearing a lot of different chords, it's really just to play around G minor with different voicings. So the first chord goes like, you can see on the screen here, I got F, G, and B flat. That's just parts of a G minor 7. So I'm just using this, I'm not playing the D on top. And then the second chord goes like this, right? We're still playing a G minor with a sharp 5. So we're getting a bit jazzy, but we're still playing a G minor.
So correct me if I'm wrong, P. The sharp 5 is not part of the G minor chord. Obviously, I know that much.
It's not. No.
I know that little.
Yeah, it's not part of,
So you're adding the sharp 5.
It's not part of the key either. So you're basically going. And then the trick here is going from G minor to G major. I'm not playing the D here again. I just want to keep the voicing very simple and let the leading tone determine what you're hearing. And then back to G minor with a little gospel twirl. And then I go to, again, I'm in the G realm of things. I'm playing a G sus2 sus4. You could say that's an A minor 7, but I'm not playing this, and that would sound clashy if I went like.
Ouch.
It would sound terrible.
I don't like it.
So that's why sometimes when you see chords that look exactly the same, but I call it G sus2 sus4 because I know if I call it an A minor 7, even though that's the exact start of the voicing, it would sound terrible. So G sus2 sus4, right? So and then back to this. So you have the full hypnotic loop.
It just goes in circles. I can't tell where it begins and ends. Somebody said these graphics are so useful. Thank you. All right. So I heard this. Do you mind if I come back to the driver's seat? So here we are. Oops, sorry. All right. So now we are still here. We'll put the bass in. We will put the Rhodes in and the Wurlitzer. The Rhodes and the Whirly do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you play it on the Whirly so people really hear the warmth and everything? You want to do that?
Yeah.
I'll mute it. No, on the live one. Here. Turn that up. I couldn't find what note to sing on this thing. Because I was like, do I sing on like... I couldn't find out what to do. I remember I was like really struggling with what to sing on this. And then I found like my note. I just looked inside the closet. Paper towels running scarce. Running scarce, running scarce. I don't know what to do about it. The grocery store, they got me scared. And it felt good. I don't know why. I should probably place an order. I guess that's the best bet. You know, it just felt good. But deliveries are slower than Teddy Riley's internet. I don't know. It just felt right to sing on that note. I don't know what it means theoretically in terms of music theory. I don't know what tone or whatever. It just felt good. And I don't know, it felt kind of swaggy to sing on that note. And so another thing that we wanted to explain and talk about with you guys, here we are, is the guitar tones that we used in songs like this. So I want to talk about like funk guitar tones real quick. So we've got some guitars in there. Let's just go to the main riff again. Right? So these kind of guitar tones, let me make a little parentheses here. These kinds of guitar tones, we kind of became fascinated with them when we were like teenagers in high school and stuff. Yeah. So we were really, really fascinated with these, like, you know, especially coming from like rock, and you listen to like Hendrix or whatever, and, you know, I don't know, Metallica, God knows what else we were listening to. And then you discover funk music, and all of a sudden these guitar tones are so punchy and dry and percussive. It's almost like, you know, when you learn guitar as a kid, you learn to either like shred or be a rhythm guitar player, and then you discover funk music, and guitar serves as like a barely melodic percussion instrument that accentuates your groove. And I remember this song here. This is called this is Heartache Number 9 by Delegation. And I remember we flipped out when we were hearing this when we were kids. We were like, how do they do those sounds? So like, check it out. Wait, oh my God, that's not the original.
That's not the original. No.
Oh snap! They are not on this streaming service, which we will not name. Hold on. Do they have other songs? Well, I guess. Oh wait. We can play it on this here. There's other songs.
There's only one album.
Yeah, but we could. Oh, this is. Wait. Yeah, those kind of. Those kinds of very, very funky, super simple sounds. We're like, how the hell did they do that? Like, what's the deal? And then we learned, from reading about Prince and reading about Nile Rodgers and those dudes, that they never used an amp, or very seldom used an amplifier, and they would plug in direct.
And Bob Clearmountain was...
Yes, he told us that.
He told us that, and he was kind of the engineer of that behind Chic Records. He would never tell them. He would double track.
8 tracks in the house.
He would double track direct and with an amp, not telling anybody he was doing it, and then he would keep the direct sound and work with it.
Right. So when we started doing, making our own brand of funk, one of the first things we wanted to do, and you can hear this from our first album, is getting that kind of percussive guitar sound. And so the key is no amp. And you have to have a good guitar. You have to have something that sounds nice. We only work with 2 guitars, Gibson, Les Paul, or Fender Strat. If we want a thick sound, if we want to do a solo, if we want to play like some, I don't know, just anything thicker and with more body. Or sometimes, we love like Phoenix, the band Phoenix, they have the best sounding guitars, but they're chunky. So we use the Les Paul for something like that. Otherwise, for that kind of funk thing, we go for the Strat.
So usually solos would be done on the Les Paul, I guess. And rhythm guitars, depending on what era we're going for, would be the Strat. Or if it's something more 70s, it'd probably be the Les Paul.
It's one or the other. I read excuse me, in Keith Richards' book, I think he also says something like that. You just need 2. And same with amplifiers. You just need, if you're going to go amplifiers, you get one really clean amp like a Fender amp or a Marshall amp, and that's it. We don't even use fancy pedals. We use like really cheap Boss pedals.
Yeah. We are anti fancy guitar, stuff.
So, all right, so this is how we get that guitar sound. We plug the guitar in directly in a preamp. Now we've got a bit of a nicer preamp, but back in the day we used to just plug into...
We used to go with the actual, just the generic sound cards preamp.
And then, so, here we are. So then, okay. So, look how simple this is. Let me make this bigger. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, P.
I don't know.
What did I just do?
Wait.
Okay, cool. So, sorry about that. So let's put nothing on the guitar at all. That is the guitar, as you see, flat EQ, no compression, nothing, just through the preamp. All right, I'm gonna use the second pickup here, or the second position, and there you go. Nothing. It already sounds kind of punchy. In fact, I think it sounds punchier than when you go through an amp. It's direct, right? So a lot of the funk stuff that you hear, whether it's Nile or whether it's like...
It's a percussion.
Yeah.
It's a percussive instrument.
Okay, so then
Would you put a hi-hat through an amp? No.
Exactly. So then you give it a little bit of compression, like this. This is a basic compression setting, garden variety compression setting. Truth be told, I don't even know what a compressor does. I just do it like this. P always is like, okay, this position, blah, blah, blah. Leave it in there. Then, basic ass guitar plug-in. Maybe I chose the point. Is that the Waves one?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Everybody has that. Okay, use the punchy sound. Sometimes I go to clean direct also. Direct sounds good. I don't know why I got on punchy. Maybe it was, I don't know. And then I have a Valhalla reverb on there, but actually it's disabled. It's better when it's dry. I think it's cooler when it's dry. And that's it, look. And then from our first album, we had that thing. We were doing that already. Jack the compression, right? So you can really hear the percussive aspect of it, I would say.
Yeah.
And then jam away, no amps. There we go. And then you kind of just noodle. It's always these very elementary pentatonic movements, I guess we call them, right? Yeah. Like it's like flat 7 root, flat 7 root, flat 7 root.
Pretty much.
Flat third. Octave, yeah. And I guess, maybe I'm not talking about the fact that you have to know how to
learn the song Money, 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 and you'll have all of funk figured out.
What are people saying? Do you think it's better having hardware instruments like Rhodes, or software can still be good? If you don't have the money to afford an actual Fender Rhodes, you get a great sound with your plug-in if you know how to tweak it. That's
just like I just showed you, this Arturia.
Yeah.
They have great plugins. They're cheap. They sound amazing.
All right, so basically, let me mute those guitars. Yeah, okay, so Whirly goes back in, Rhodes goes back in. Actually, Pete, why don't you play so we jam together? Playing pretty simple, and that's your sort of basic funk guitar trope. I'm sure there's 100 people that could play better than me, but that's kind of our thing. And if you see us play live, half the show I'm just doing those little chugs like. So that's your funk guitar sound. Like funk, kind of like rhythmic, chuggy guitar thing that we put in every other one of our songs. And we just wanted to show you guys how that sound is made. So the last thing we wanted to talk about this song, on this song, is the string sound. Because I think, I think it's kind of a salient feature in this song. So we're going to go to the chorus real quick. Sorry. Okay, so. Oh no, that's the pre, sorry, my bad. I think I need some help, and then we did. I gotta take care of my mental health, Oh, I think I need some help. So. Oh, gotta take care of my mental. So, all right. So this string sound. It was weird because we didn't want it to sound, so nothing sounds cornier than trying to make real strings out of fake strings to us. Even if it's a plug-in, even if it's whatever, like they sound cool, but you're never gonna have the sound of real strings, like a real orchestra and stuff.
To me, it'll always sound like a Triton string.
like one of those cheesy synths. So we on this song wanted to go for a keyboard string sound, but one that sounded soulful and full and kind of remind us of, actually let me go here for a second, of those classic Parliament funkadelic songs. What's the song? Oh wait, what was the classic WEFUNK? What's it called? Is this it?
Dealers are funky.
While we do it,
Yeah, WEFUNK, y'all. Now this is man. P-Funk.
You know this P-Funk song, there's all these like crazy who was the great keyboard player? It was Bernie Worrell, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
It ain't real strings, but it's hot. It's so funky. So we were like, okay, how do we do this? I think a lot of those string songs are from the ARP keyboard.
Yes, the Solina.
But we don't have one.
Solina string ensemble.
Do we have one? We don't have one.
We have one somewhere. It's just we replaced it.
Oh.
We replaced it with the VP330 string ensemble, which sounds just as good, and to me it's just another nice little texture.
Somebody asked what effects we use on vocals, and by the way, same deal. Basic compression, basic EQ, basic reverb, basic delay. Most of the time, not too exotic. All right, let's talk about strings. So the first sound in our string stack is the Roland VP330. P, I'm on you right now. So can you play with that again?
Yep. There's really nothing on there.
There's nothing on there.
There's a tone, so you can make it darker. You can hear that. It's almost like a filter. There's an attack, so you can make it, or you can have it, with a lot of attack, and that's pretty much it. It's just such a great texture.
And the VP330, that's also the vocoder we use.
Yes, exactly.
Is that like the famous Herbie Hancock vocoder synth?
One of
them. All right, cool. So, let's go. So we have a stack here. Watch. Oops, sorry. Let me go back. So we have a stack of strings. We have. Wait, let me make this bigger. Oops. We have the VP330 strings. What am I doing right now? Here we go. And then, so we did an octave, if I'm not mistaken, P, right? Kind of sounds cheap still.
But that's what Parliament sounds.
Yeah. But we added 2 more sounds from the E2, which is really one of our secret weapons. The EMU emulator E2. Let's see if we can see it on there. So, correct me if I'm wrong, people. The emulator, this synth, is not synthesis, it's samples, right?
Yeah, it's samples.
It's like an old school SP1200, so it's all
It's-
samples.
Inside of this is an SP12.
Right.
They just mapped it out on the keyboard.
Right.
But it's sample based. It's 8-bit,
Right.
and it sounds incredible.
And this was like big on a lot of new wave records, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like Human League or whatever, probably.
Yep.
Yep. So we have 2 string sounds on this thing. We've got the string sounds, and you put a pluck in there as well, I believe.
Yep.
Right. So the pizzicato thing
It's for the attack.
for the attack, and then the regular string sound. Where is it? Sounds cheesy to me, but I don't know. Together it kind of works. And so once we had our 4 strings, the 2 VP330, the 2 E2, we bust them, added compression, and
And OTT.
the EDM plugin, the Skrillex plugin, the OTT, which everybody out there who uses Ableton knows that plugin. And somehow, all of them together, it kind of worked. You got percussiveness, you got high end, it cuts through,
You got texture.
you got texture, and it's still a little bit cheapo. It doesn't sound like you're trying to mimic an orchestra, but it's got that soulfulness to it. Gotta take care of my mental health. That is the gist of it on this one. Should we go to the next one, P?
Let's do it.
All right, so the next song we're going to discuss is Cabin Fever, which is the final track on our Quarantine Casanova EP. And contrary to Roni Got Me Stressed Out, on Cabin Fever, we actually went straight into Pro Tools. Why? Because we didn't have any MIDI. So if we don't have any MIDI, we might as well start in Pro Tools. It's not
That's what
something I
the
love
demo
to do.
was
Yeah, the
done
demo
Pro
was on
Tools.
Pro Tools.
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
it was no point. Since there was no MIDI, there was no point of going back and forth.
So just so you guys know, you see us work on Cubase a lot. We record all our vocals in Pro Tools, and when we do all the production in Cubase, and then once we're done with the production, we print all the Cubase stems, go into Pro Tools and merge the vocals that we did on Pro Tools with all the music that we did in Cubase, and that becomes like our master session that we go to mixing with and so on and so forth. That's kind of the thing. So for Cabin Fever, which was a really, really raw kind of song, a very minimalist song, we started with a Pro Tools demo that P had lying around forever. And it's one of those things where, again, he played it for me and we built upon it. So let us load this Pro Tools session. Can you imagine if like our desktop had like a bunch of really sus things on it? Let me take a couple of questions. Music is my mental health. E2 was a bit like the Akai S9. Okay, cool. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks, guys. Fake 70s
Yes.
art stuff is cool. I think they're doing a talk about P-Funk. I'm just reading some of the comments and questions. Okay,
Yes,
so
the E2 is like a Nakai S950.
which was the first sampler I ended up ever used, by the way. Okay, so here we are,
900 or 950?
950. So here we are, Cabin Fever, another one of our super minimalistic songs. Almost nothing in there. Actually, let's play that. My cabin fever's running. So a couple of things that we wanted to talk about on this song. It's very rare that we do live drums with Chromeo. It's actually something new that we are starting to experiment with more now, because in the other room of our studio we have a booth. We'll show this to you another time, and there's a drum kit and stuff. So this is live drums, and correct me if I'm wrong, P, but you played those?
Yeah.
You're, no offense, no shade, but you're not a drummer.
I'm not a drummer.
But this is also to tell you guys that anybody can do this, because you can just get on the drums, find a couple of bars, doctor them a little bit, you know, nudge them, put them on the grid, and you'll have something fairly passable.
Yeah. If you know what you're looking for, then you'll get to it.
Cool.
Technology today.
What bass? Okay, wait, we'll make sure that we talk about the live bass in there. Okay, cool. So let's go to sort of the main riff of the song. All right, so we've got our drums, and we figured we'd talk about parallel compression. I don't know if you've heard this term before. It's a thing. I never understood what it was until recently. But basically, parallel compression is a way to make your drums sound punchier.
Punchier and more present.
Or
even more textured, depending on what you do with it.
Yeah.
If
and
you compress a lot, then you're going to bring out the noise in the room in the back. If you don't compress that much, you're going to have a bit of punch.
And the thing with parallel, so essentially what you do with parallel compression is you have your drums playing, then you take the sum of all your drums,
you bust that out,
run them through a compressor, and whatever other plugins you want, but they have to have compression. And then whatever's coming out of that plays on top of your old drums.
Mm-hmm.
And the sum of everything basically adds an extra layer of punchiness over what you had already. So we're going to show you what it sounds like without the parallel compression. This is without, right, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go, without it. Bone dry. It already sounds pretty good because P's got, you know, we've mic'd it properly, so we've got the really dry kind of like Fleetwood Mac snare. Not bad. And
but
then
it could use just a little nudge.
A little nudge, a little edge.
A little love.
A little bit of that edge, as Ryland would say. So then you have your drum bus here. I'm going to make it bigger. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this goes to the drum bus, this to the drum bus, this to the drum bus, this to the drum bus. Comes out of the drum bus. What do you have in there? You've got your CLA, so basic compression.
Another basic. And then
the glue. What the hell is that?
It's just a compressor that I think sounds great on top of the CLA 76, which is doing a kind of like preliminary getting ready for the next compressor.
Right, and then
this one is doing all the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got a little EQ afterwards, right?
Well,
a lot of EQ.
A nice EQ.
Right, where you make it basically just punchier.
This is you want to complete the spectrum of your drums that are playing with. If you wanted more texture, you would take all of these out.
Right.
And you would jack up the high end, and then you could hear the sizzle of the room behind.
Right.
Yeah, depending on what kind of sound you're looking for.
So this is without. Let me go here. And then this is with.
Already you can hear the hi-hat.
Bumps a little more, right?
Yeah. And you can hear a bit more texture on the hi-hat, a bit more room, but you don't necessarily want room on the snare because you want it to keep it dry.
And then, so what we did is that we printed basically what the parallel compression does and what the effect. So this is what comes out of your parallel compression chain. We just printed it for you guys to hear. So basically the idea is you have your regular as drums. I'm just going to group them again. You have your regular basic drums that sound aight, and then you're just adding this on top. Subtle, but I think it makes it, we know it makes a difference because it makes it punchier, especially in the mix, especially when you've got other stuff going on. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked what kind of bass we were using, so let's go to the live bass. Not much going on there. Did you go in direct? Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Yes, you did. You know you did.
Yes.
Basic compression, guitar amp plug-in. That's it.
Yeah.
We only use 2 basses, much like the guitars.
Yeah.
Where are our basses? We use...
The Music's Man. Is
I have
right
both,
there.
actually. I have both here. We have 2 bass guitars that we use. There we go. So, jazz bass or Music Man.
Mhm.
Oh, no, Music Man or jazz bass.
Music Man, jazz bass.
And tell us quickly how you decide between the 2.
Well, this is a classic funk bass. All my favorite records were done on a Music Man. You know.
That's the one that Chic used.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, a lot of funk groups like, you know, Dayton and a lot of stuff. This is more like a classic sort of a jazzier bass, I'd say.
Jaco Pastorius
Jaco
vibes.
Pastorius 70s vibe.
Thicker.
Thicker, rounder also.
Yeah.
This one is really punchy when you want to slap or when you want to really hear your fingers, you know, on the bass. This one's great.
Should we plug it in just to kind of show?
Sure, yeah.
Let's do that. Here, I will give you this. We'll use... Here you go, P. I'll just plug it in. So we're going direct again through the preamps. Do you want to noodle with that, P? I don't know what I'm doing. Should we open up, or should we just go through... Here, hold on. Should we go into live bass or something? Let's go ici.
Let's go through here. Let's open,
New one.
duplicate the channel.
Check some questions. It sounds great. Producing like fire. Music is my mental health. Blah 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 blah. I see you guys. Oh, Central Peak is trying to message Nick.
Okay. There's nothing on there. It's just really the bass, all the knobs up. And
Yeah. So what? All the knobs up.
all the knobs up, and then just a
I
very
mean, it
simple.
helps.
The compressor is doing a bit much than if we were using a guitar. As you can see, it's compressing a little bit more, but nothing crazy. And then a very simple wave guitar amp. They have bass settings on here that you can use. Usually go to direct tube.
And that's it, right?
That's it.
Here you go, jam, my friend. Hold on. That's it. So not much going on in this song, and we wanted to kind of keep it really raw. So you've got your Fender Rhodes, you've got those little accents that we did on the Wurlitzer, the little di-di-di-di. And actually, like, just to talk a little bit about songwriting stuff on a song like this, you know, like this is an example of the fact that you don't really need to follow traditional song structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if there's not really a chorus in here really, and there's like really long verses. We kind of got that almost like from listening to hip hop. Like, you know, think about a song like "A Millie" by Lil Wayne. There's no real chorus in there. He just like rambles the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those are our favorite songs. The songs that don't have like sort of a very radio verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus structure. So on this one, I just purposefully just rambled. So, you know, let's load the... Temperature still low. I wish that I could step outside, but I got nowhere to go. All the stores short. But ain't nothing feeling new, 'cause I'm still stuck in a room. Yeah, so essentially that's it. The little stuck in a room is kind of refrain. It's a refrain, but it doesn't really define a chorus or anything. It's just there. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just a ramble over a beat. It's almost like a Ghostface song, but Chromeo version. Then we added some small decorations here. Stuck in a room. Oh, sorry. Kind of very trippy synths. We've got the MS-20, Korg MS-20?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to load that one up and show what kind of stuff it does? Not necessarily that sound, but like just in general what the MS-20 does, why we use it.
Yep.
We use that sound a lot, that keyboard a lot for like what we call twirlies and stuff. It's just kind of a fun, very funky. It's a synth for leads, right? It doesn't have any...
And sound effects.
Why don't we load it up and see? I'm going to put this away real quick. I'm going to mute the bass channel. All right, this thing. All right, we're going to go to this thing, and then... Uh-oh.
Oh.
There we go. All right, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. I mean, I can still see what's going on. Let's go ahead. So MS-20. What preamp are we plugging into? We have an API preamp, but P doesn't want to mention that because it's fancy and expensive, and he wants to highlight the fact that you don't need a fancy preamp. But we now have an API preamp. That was a question over there. Can we make this work again? Should I question? I don't know what happened. Maybe I messed up. No?
You did.
I just touched it. I barely even... Whatever. Here we are. Okay, so P, can we go back to the MS-20? Describe it. It's like a cinematic synth. It does like special effects.
It's very thick. It's semi-modular.
Semi-modular.
The great thing about it is that it's very extremely flexible. So you can make a lot of really special sounding sounds. If you play around with the modular part of it, you can make very cool sound effects. And for example, this.
The end.
This solo. If you solo the solo.
The one at the very end.
Yes.
Sorry, hold on. Oh, sorry. We're gonna get to that in a second. Huh?
You can even take the delay out, and you'll hear.
Let me go about this the right way. Okay.
I think a key component of this sound was. You can hear this.
No delay. You want to take the reverb out as well, just to make it super dry?
Yeah. So you can hear here, this is not a delay effect. This is the actual envelope of the sound. That part right there. That's the filter resonating and closing right after the note is done playing. That's not...
What is that? So... Right.
And it's the same here.
Yeah. So I guess it's like a good sound, or it's a good synth to do kind of like
It's very flexible.
cinematic-y, special. Yeah.
You could not do that on any. I mean, you could, but not on a very, on a basic like 2 oscillator.
Now let me ask you this, P. Here's the $1 million question: could you get this on a plugin? Because they make MS-20 plugins, don't they?
You can.
Can you get that thing on a plugin?
You can.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It's not. It won't be as rich and thick and unpredictable as this.
right.
Because most likely on your plugin, it'll follow some sort of very rigid timeline or algorithm, which will place it at the same spot every time.
Right.
This
Obviously,
is a bit more
analog. Sounds beautiful. So let us show you how we come up with a lot of solos. This is something we've done since the early days of Chromeo. And, again, a lot of the stuff that we try, a lot of the messages we try to convey on these tutorials or whatever, is that you don't have to be like an incredible shredder. You don't have to be like a great improvisationalist. It's kind of just going by ear and by feeling. I know everybody says that, but
It's true.
just trust your ear. So, for instance, for this,
Or not.
right?
Depends,
But for this, for instance, I was like, okay, P, we need like this kind of like 10cc I'm not in love vibe solo for the end. And what P did, or what he told me to do, was like, he was like, all right, fine, dude, just sing to me what you hear. So we take like a crappy mic, and then we go like this. And so I just sang that. I kind of freestyled it into the mic.
So my job is to understand what he's doing here and translating it into an actual piece of music. And
put the two together. Took some liberties here.
yeah.
But then you made the end the way I wanted it. So usually I'll go into the other room and I'll be like, all right, P, figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you'll add whatever. Obviously he adds his touches to it.
I smooth it out. I make it a bit, more melodic. Because sometimes when you sing something, you don't understand the intervals, and you make it a bit choppy, and it doesn't sound as fluid.
Because I don't play keys, I play guitar. So in a way, I always sing those solos in a way maybe I would hear a guitar do it, and then P like adapts it. So tell me what you, just before we talk about the chords in the song, and I know we're almost done, but what did you do? What did you do at the? What did you do at the very end here? I want to know about this. Oops, sorry. Not here. Here. So the sound goes from this. I want to kind of see you do this. So you've got a sound here, and then it becomes this like really badass, beefy.
Yeah, so basically...
Can you show us, or like, can you give us examples of like...
so basically... So it went from a very melodic, sort of smooth, solo sound, where all the oscillators are basically on the same octave.
It went from like 10cc to Justice real fast.
And then I just
It went from...
added an octave mid-solo.
Y'all are using Trillion for bass guitars. I don't even know what Trillion is.
So basically...
Did I actually make a fort? One of A-Track's friends made a fort. Wait, let's go back.
So basically,
Okay, they can't hear you super well, so just tell me what you're doing, and I'll repeat it for the camera.
Oh.
So what's the first of all, that first...
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
So the first sound of the solo is everything's on the same octave.
So everything means what?
Every oscillator is on the same octave.
How many oscillators are
Two
on?
oscillators.
2 oscillators. Okay. So 2 oscillators on the same octave.
Yeah.
What does that sound like? Wait, what do you switch now?
Switch one of the octaves down.
AKA you tell one of the 2 oscillators to go down one
Exactly,
octave.
yes.
So then it's going to play like an octave.
Yeah, so I'll do it.
Am I crazy to say that I can hear it more when you play in the low register than when you play in the high register? That sounds hot. Like, definitely could do another song. But yes, it's wow. Forever.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more minutes. Why don't we talk about, since like there's some people who were talking about theory, we talked a little bit about that before. Why don't we talk about the chord
chords
structure
on this,
of the
yep.
song? So I think you had something ready for that.
Let's see. I have. All right, let's pull up.
Somebody says, I'm so inspired. Thank you. It's Lizzie Love. What preamp? We also talked about that. Wait, I have to add something. Follow twitch.tv/Chromeo You alright, Pete?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
Alright, so
what's going on in this song?
again, another very simple hypnotic loop with a little bit of, jazzy advanced stuff, but
You think
not
it's
too much.
Yeah. So what's
So
happening?
basically, the first chord is just a minor 7, A flat minor 7. So
Why don't you play note by note? Really do break it down for people like me who don't understand anything.
here's my bass. I am omitting
The octaves.
the octave here because it's just to sound a bit too full. So I'm playing the bass here, the A flat, the minor 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. So their first chord, very basic. Second chord gets a bit more interesting. I'm keeping the same bass.
Wow. What's that? That sounds deep. But that on
This
the right
is-
hand, it's like a major triad.
Yes,
Okay, well, what the hell?
that's an A flat 11.
Why do I
Because-
hear a major triad on the right hand and all of a sudden it's so fancy? It's because of the root note.
Yes.
I see.
If I was to play
Most cheesy chord on earth.
very major, very
Hate it.
boring,
I never wanna
very
hear this.
basic, you see here,
So
the
then
G flat would be
I hate it.
the root of that triad.
So what did you do? That's beautiful.
So you got A flat, G flat, B flat, and D flat here, which gives you an A flat 11. So if you go from, since I'm not moving the bass, it gives you a nice effect. Right?
Yeah. So
And then the
nice.
other trick is I kept the same bass from the first to the second chord.
A flat again.
A flat.
Yeah.
So I went from minor 7 to 11. Now my little
7,
trick.
11.
Yes. Now my trick is to keep that triad on the top. And
Well, you're going to switch on the left.
and find another bass note.
Oh, you little rascal.
This bass note also, this triad also belongs to what? An E flat minor 7 chord. So we go from A flat minor 7, A flat 11, E flat minor 7 to.
This is like, this resolves it, right? This
Yeah.
is like a beautiful resolution.
Yeah, if I were to play this last chord, which is really just a boring E major chord, if I was to play this alone, you'd be like, all right, this is boring.
It's horrendous.
But since I'm
Like when the E major comes in, it feels like, okay, I
it feels
understand
like
what's
you're
going
back
on.
home,
Yeah, you're back home, exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
this is pretty much the loop. And then to make it even a bit more jazzy, at the end I add the stabs that go with an E flat 11.
Right. That sounds like an old record.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Well, go ahead.
And then this comes in. Which is the Isaac Hayes touch.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're doing, because what like when I kind of sing chords or hum chords to you, I like when something changes on one hand but doesn't change on the other hand.
Yes.
And I think to me that's like a lot of the soul funk stuff we love has that.
Yes.
So is that what's going on? Because I get the feeling that on the right hand you're staying, on the left hand you're moving, and then you're staying on the left hand, or you're moving, and then you're staying on the.
It's all about making progressions and chord changes and intervals
Smooth almost?
smooth and stay in the same range. You don't want to give, block, like you don't want to go. You don't want to do
That
that.
sounds so. Yeah, that sounds very cliche. Actually, play that again so we can hear. Do version.
Okay, so.
Do like the version for squares.
All right. Which is a progression you've heard on a million
100
records.
million times, and it also sounds like. Play it again. It also sounds like. It doesn't have any soul. Baby, baby, it's so whack. I want you to know that I love you. That's what it makes me think of. I want you to know. I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay, so.
It sounds like the songs we wrote when we were 14 years old.
Yes.
Right? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So you want to make it smoother, you want to make it better. You find voicings that will keep your leading tone. Once you have your progression, it can just be one note. You can sometimes Dave sings me one notes
Most of the time.
to figure out a chord. Yeah. What you have to keep in mind is your leading tone, which is usually your top note. Yeah.
Right.
So if I want the progression to go right, so I always listen to the top note. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Which MIDI keyboard do we use, P? It's crap.
Oh yeah, it's
You don't need to spend more than $100 on it.
I forgot. Roland A49. A MIDI controller is something you should forget. You don't want to think about your MIDI controller when you're making songs.
It's crap.
It has to be there, exists, never bother you, never talk to you, never talk back, never be in the mood. The only people that are allowed to be in the mood here are the analog synths.
That's a great lesson. And I guess I'm not allowed to be in a mood either. All right, kids. Well, that's it for us today. We talked about Cabin Fever, Roni's Got Me Stressed Out, which actually means that we are done talking about all the songs from Quarantine Casanova. So next week, same time, same place, we're actually going to start tackling some Chromeo classics. We're going to break apart Fancy Footwork and Juice. one song that's from over 10 years ago, 13 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever, and one song that's about 2 years old, and they're both very, very, very different production-wise, almost like opposite. And yeah, we'll just show you guys how we produced both of those. So until then, stay funky, everybody.
And see you later.
Oscillator. Oh, wait, put back the other thing.
What?
And the funk shop.
Oh.
Bye. Peace out. Oh.